Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Michigan football potentially getting more active in the transfer portal as Davison Igbinosun taking an official visit to Michigan earlier this afternoon. Though this is a player that a true freshman All-American, plenty of years of eligibility left, and it seems to be a position that we really need to address. This is a very, very fun player. Before we get into talking about the player, what it would mean for Michigan, I just want to say thank you to you guys, especially the Michigan fans. You know, we talk a lot of college football. Michigan is our team, and the Michigan fans who tune in, talk with us in the comment section. We really do appreciate you guys. You guys have truly been awesome. This is why we love doing it. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate y'all. Dill, I'm going to kick it off to you. Early takes on this news or potential news coming up.
Yeah, I mean, this would be big for Michigan. You're looking at a guy in Davison Igbinosun who was really good at Ole Miss last year as a true freshman, and maybe one of the highlights of the defense there, as you might say, because again, aside from him, it's a pretty weak group. I mean, Ole Miss did give up a lot of points, a lot of yards, and obviously with the DC shakeup, it looks like he's ready to move on and hopefully find somewhere where I'm guessing he thinks he can be on a more competitive landscape where, I mean, he can play really good team defense, not just be himself playing really good.
And so we'll take a look at what Michigan has been doing in the transfer portal. And again, Michigan in the transfer portal, you won't see them ranked in like the top 5 or necessarily top 3 in transfer portal rankings according to other recruiting services, because we're not necessarily taking the quantity of players. But the quality of players that we have gathered in the transfer portal has been significant. Like, these guys are all former starters at their previous schools who are kind of coming into Michigan looking to contribute to a national championship, to another Big Ten championship. What is so intriguing about Davison is that he comes in and he would potentially fill a massive hole in our depth chart. When you look at Michigan and their depth chart and personnel heading into 2023, there's so many returning starters on the offensive line. You obviously return your running back and quarterback in JJ and Blake. On the defensive side of the ball, Will Johnson, Mikey Sandstrill, Rod Moore, Makari Page, a bunch of guys on the defensive line coming back. If there's one question mark in this depth chart, it's that other boundary corner. Like, you feel great about Will Johnson, how he looked as a true freshman. Mikey Sandstrill, potentially one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the whole entire country. But on the other side, with DJ Turner and Gamon Green leaving, there's a void. And this kid, Davison Igbinosun, coming in would be a massive, massive get for Michigan in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, it would be huge because when Michigan went on the little flurry of gathering up some transfers early, and this is back early December, late November, and we were kind of talking like the one missing piece would have been corner, because I mean, you were thinking about the guy from UVA who I know Michigan thought they were going to maybe get a crack at. He ended up at Florida State. Domani Jackson's name keeps circulating around.
I'm not giving up hope on it.
I have no idea if there's any validity to the rumors, but obviously him and Will Johnson have a good relationship, and in Michigan was certainly gunning for his commitment as a freshman. So again, you just kind of hoping you maybe get one more guy, because what you're looking at with Michigan is you don't really know what you have at corner at this point. After Jamon and
DJ Turner
left, you didn't really see any of the other guys play. It was just those three with Will Johnson and those two. So I think adding a piece of some sort of more proven commodity might or would just be really helpful for Michigan and going forward.
And this is a dude that, I mean, according to 24/7, he's a top 10 transfer target in the portal. And that says a lot, because you look at the transfer portal, like the top 100 dudes were all like starters who probably will be starting at a Power 5 level program in 2023. He is 10th according to their rankings. This is a guy who's a true freshman All-American a season ago. It's not a guy who's hitting the transfer portal because he wasn't getting enough playing time. He started 10 games as a true freshman, had 5 pass breakups, 37 tackles. He's a stud who is long, 6'2", was a former track athlete in high school too, so you know he has the long speed to deal with wide receivers in the Big Ten as well. I think this would be a massive get. Talking about who we're competing with to get this kid, took an official visit to Columbus yesterday, and then he was up in Ann Arbor today. I mean, Tennessee, UCLA, Ohio State, and Michigan are seemingly the 4 contenders trying to make a push for this kid. And when you look at the selling point for Michigan, it's got to be strong. One, we're putting out 2 cornerbacks who are probably playing in the NFL next year. I mean, DJ Turner will be selected in the NFL draft. Gamon Green probably going to get a shot at it as an undrafted free agent. great development. But the one thing you can sell to him is you're going to be playing meaningful football in the months of November and December, and you come into Michigan and you're a candidate to start and get meaningful reps right away. Because again, that's the one position that Michigan has that we don't really have a returning candidate. We don't really have a name that is, oh yeah, he's going to be a stud for us and be starting in 2023. So he comes to Michigan, he knows he's going to get significant playing time.
And frankly, what he sees with Will Johnston, how he's developed, I'd have to think will be helpful. And the opportunity to play again, if you can kind of be one of those big time duos, you just get more buzz. Like you think about when LSU had the two guys, Stingley and the guy on the Titans, Fulton. So it's like you get those tandems. I feel like you can almost make yourself more, like you can pop a little more because teams pay attention. Like, oh man, that secondary's nails. In Michigan secondary, assuming they can fill that last corner spot, it's going to be absolutely incredible, I think. And again, you just think it seems like Michigan's doing a little better and getting a little more active with the NIL and trying to get the. I have a hunch that's what Harbaugh was angling with this whole time with his flirting with the NFL. And
it's not a coincidence that he flirts with the NFL and then we're taking 7, 8, 9 transfers and heading into 2023. I don't think.
Exactly. And I don't think this whole thing was butting heads about money. I'm guessing it was a lot more like, well, we're going to compete with the SEC and the Pac-12 teams that are trying to vault themselves back up. Like Michigan's got to get a little more aggressive and mobilize the fan base and be supportive of the athletes, not necessarily in any sort of like crooked way, but just within the rules. They mobilizing the alumni, and I think they're doing that. And again, that obviously seems to be playing some factor in the transfer portal if you look at where guys are leaving from and where they're going to. So I'd like to think Michigan's got that tightened up a little more. And again, on the field, it's as good of a sell as any because what they're doing and producing and developing talent, especially in the secondary.
In terms of transfer portal guys, like this kid might be this isn't meant to be said lightly because I like a lot of the kids that we are pulling in through the transfer portal. He might be the most meaningful player that we get in the transfer portal because it's at a position of need. Ladarius Henderson, Miles Hinton, Drake Nugent, all guys who were like all Pac-12 performers at Stanford and Arizona State respectively, like very good players, but not necessarily at a position of need. That's one of the spots that we're pretty deep in. We have very good offensive linemen, and we have a lot of guys in the depth. Ernest Hausman, a very, very good linebacker that could be considered a position of need, but you have Mikey Barrett coming back. You have Junior Colson coming back. He's just a stud that's probably just going to play because he's good. Josiah Stewart's probably the most impactful because if you look at Michigan and what we needed, like it was an elite pass rusher. Josiah Stewart, a guy that has had over 20 sacks his last 2 years at Coastal Carolina, provides some of that juice. But this is the position that we talked about when we were talking about all these transfers. If there's one position that we kind of need to address heading into 2023, it was the cornerback. And this represents this is perfect. Like a 6'2", 180-pound cornerback that was an true freshman All-American the year before. Like this is exactly what we ordered. And if we can make this happen, this would make me way more confident about how this defense is going to look in 2023 here.
Yeah, and obviously, like when you're going after these type of players, you're button heads with some big dog programs. I mean, Ohio State, obviously, Tennessee, and UCLA. But at the end of the day, you look around and no one's playing as good a defense. I mean, those three schools aren't really. You don't think anything about defensive play. I mean, Ohio State, yes, they played better defense, but frankly, I don't think the secondary was developed particularly well. I mean, you saw flashes from guys like Lathan Ransom and Denzel Burke and Cam Brown. And I mean, it didn't seem like any of them developed the way Rod Moore, DJ.
Those quarterbacks straight up stunk. For how good of recruits they were coming out of high school, the development at Ohio State in the cornerback room was not good.
Yeah, no. So I think you're like, if you're just looking where guys are going pro from, and Will Johnson looks like he's going to be a first rounder possibly when he comes out. You haven't seen that from Tennessee, UCLA, or Ohio State on the defensive side. Like, yes, they've put some really good wideouts out. They've put some good offensive linemen out in Ohio State's case and some good offensive players. But again, to me, it's like you think defense, you think Michigan right now, and
it's a match made in heaven. It's a match. It's a position in need. You're telling this kid, hey, you are coming in and you are going to be competing and probably going to be the starter heading into 2023 if you are playing anything like you did as a true freshman. He's from New Jersey. Like, this makes a ton of sense for him. And if Michigan can make this happen, I think this would be the biggest gap Michigan gets in the 2023 class through the transfer portal. Very excited. We're going to keep our eyes on it. He probably will be making his decision relatively soon after he has finished all the visits up. Again, if you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, especially you Michigan fans. You guys have been absolutely awesome, and we do really appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.